You are listening to X-Wing Radio.
That's right. I'm David. That's Wesley. And this is X-Wing Radio, a weekly broadcast from a galaxy far, far away.
You know, David, I wonder how many people wish that it was a lot farther away. Far enough that they couldn't hear it.
It seems like we've been talking about topics like this a lot lately, but that's
Like
just
what, David?
because that's Star Wars now. So,
Well, what
for
ab-
those of you who didn't read the title or see the thumbnail on YouTube or anything like that for this podcast, which I don't know, honestly don't know if anyone did not observe any of those things, but today we're talking about Star
let's
Wars Outlaws.
let's be honest here, David. Most of our views probably come from people who are watching a video, and then all of a sudden this gets suggested to them, starts playing, and then they're like, "Whoa, crap! No, I don't want to listen to this."
Yeah, honestly.
So, Star Wars Outlaws. That's what we're talking about. So, if you're interested in the game, stick around, listen, or interested about the game.
So, Star Wars Outlaws is a Ubisoft game, or a game developed by Ubisoft. It's a open world. No, wait, no, sorry. It's a stealth. No, not exactly that either. It's kind of like a casual shooter. No, not really that either. It doesn't know what it is.
David, I can take it by the tone in which you're taking with this that you're amongst the fans that are going to be trashing this game.
So, okay, this game has a very specific audience. For that audience, it's going to be a great game. For the vast majority of people, not to dive directly into this stuff, but for the vast majority of people, this game is just, it's not bad, but it's not amazing either.
Well, that's the thing about this game, and honestly, if you look past most of the people who are currently hating on Ubisoft for not having made a good game in years, or the Star Wars fans that are tired of new Star Wars content because they think it's all trash, which, fair. And you just go to the normal, either Star Wars fan who plays video games or the casual gamer. It's a okay game with a okay story, and it's not okay. So, David, I don't know if you did, but I played through a little bit of the game. I started playing it when it came out through the Ubisoft thingamabobber because I was interested in playing it. I also didn't want to pay $670 whatever bucks for it. So I got the subscription to the thing just to play the game and test it out because I wanted to try it out for myself. It's not bad to play through. It's also not challenging to play through. And I think that's part of what you were getting at there. It's like, there's at times it tries to be a stealth game, which I think is probably the majority of what it is a little bit more of the stealth throughout most of the game is what you're doing. But the stealth can be a little weird at times. You can like walk almost sometimes right next to someone and they won't see you. So there's times that it's a little bit weird. But it tries to be a stealth game. The combat isn't great for it's not hard. It's not really, from what I played of it, it's not specifically bad. It's just it's a game that you can tell its main focal point was not shooting. Its main focal point is not combat. Or at least if it was, they failed in that area. But it's not hard to I mean, when the default setting is auto lock, or auto aim or whatever, so you don't even have to try. Just pull a trigger. You can take that setting off, but it's still not difficult. But aside from that, the story isn't anything revolutionary either. But to be fair, okay, don't go comparing this game to any of the other Star Wars games that have come out in recent years because they're not the same type of game. So don't go
So yeah,
comparing this to Fallen Order or Survivor or, I mean, even if any of the EA games that have come out in recent years, don't compare them to those because they're completely different styles of game. It's not going to be as
so
good as that because you're not playing as a
I would
Jedi.
also say it's more fair to compare it to some of the Rockstar games or some of the other Ubisoft games like Far Cry
Yeah,
or Assassin's Creed.
yeah, yeah.
Now
As far
that is
as far
that
as
is
the Assassin's Creed stuff goes, I do get that that's kind of what got Ubisoft going in a lot of ways, and that's probably one of the
now
most well-known franchises. You'd think that they would have more of the stealth down at this point.
mm, so yeah, like you're obviously it's obviously not going to be like a Hitman style game for stealth, like
Yeah, it's
for
not
that
Hitman either.
level. Um, because like but that's one thing I do want to talk about with Ubisoft. One of the major criticisms of Ubisoft, in light of Wars Outlaws, is the fact that they recycle the same game every year, or same game, just slap a new skin on it. Because
Yeah.
like I said, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and this are all very similar. It's the Ubisoft formula for a game, but
Mhm.
to a point, that's not bad. Because again, there is a specific audience that loves that type of game.
Mhm.
And that for Star Wars Outlaws, that's what it was made for. Now, I did mention the Rockstar games. Um, well, mainly comparison I've seen is with GTA, because
Mhm.
the whole wanted system and the
Yeah.
obviously you're playing as an outlaw, you're playing as a criminal.
Yeah.
There's that whole side of it. The only thing to like Red Dead that actually the only similarity to Red Dead that I kind of got. Well, I mean, yes, you're an outlaw again, but the Bach, all the mini games and stuff are kind of reminiscent of how you can play
Also, is
poker
it
at a bunch of places. And
there's a mechanic in the game in the gunfights where you can like use your adrenaline to like hit multiple targets. Isn't that something
that,
from Red
yeah,
Dead as well?
yeah, that's a bunch of games have done that, but that is kind of a Red
'Cause
Dead thing.
I've seen it mostly mentioned. I mean, obviously, I've seen it in other games, but I saw people comparing it to, oh, this is the type of thing that's in Red Dead. So that's why I was mentioning that, like in that sense. Um, Now I do want to make this comment, because I've watched a bunch of, I've played it. I've watched a bunch of people play it on YouTube who've done the walkthroughs of the game. Um, I do want to mention this. So I saw someone talking about the fact that getting frustrated essentially with the fact that the open world wasn't as big on one of the planets. And they were talking about how, like, oh, there's a border to it. And it's like,
Is that
okay,
the Anto-Bite thing or whatever?
maybe I'm not entirely sure. But anyways, they're talking about like, oh, I'm going out of bounds. I thought this was an open world game. What you have to understand with this is that you go, okay, so like this is not going to be a open world similar to what you'd get in like GTA or what you'd get in even recently with me playing video games, what you'd get in a game like Fallout, okay? Because the size of the open world might be the same, but you have to consider the fact that you're hopping from planet to planet. So the open world area that you have is split up between 3 or 4 or 5 planets, you know. So you
And
do have to consider
despite
that the game is still pretty big, and they don't hate too much on the developers. because more than likely they're probably underpaid and overworked. So, it is what it is. But it's one of those things where, like, you still got to look at the fact that the amount of open world that you're getting, even if there is a boundary to it, you know?
Mhm. And despite what people want when they hear an open world game set in space, despite what people want, you're rarely ever gonna get No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, that was the
It,
problem when Starfield came out, is people wanted it to be No Man's Sky. It
mhm.
wasn't, because it's not the it's an RPG, not a I don't even know what, I guess a sandbox like No Man's Sky.
Mhm.
It's you know, and so because of that, like, yes, the world, and to your point, yeah, the world might be as big as some of these other open worlds, but it is split into multiple sections.
Yeah.
And I know Ubisoft promised an open world, but in all reality, they really only need the world to be as big as they need it for the story.
Yeah. Well, also, okay, let's talk about that real quick because you mentioned them promising things. When we first heard about this game, it actually sounded pretty cool. Essentially a choose your own character open world game was
Hmm.
the way that they made it sound originally. Then we got the first couple trailers and they were like, "Hey, wait a minute. This is not what we're getting. We're getting a single playable character that we have to go through this story for." Which that's fine. And I feel like, in all honesty, if they hadn't promised everything to begin with, they wouldn't have gotten the amount of hate for this game that they are getting. I'm not entirely sure because most of the people that I've seen who review this game are like, I went into this expecting it to be absolute garbage, and it was okay. So, it's like it could have been here, but
So,
it actually was here. So that's better than I expected. So but the thing is like they promised way too much for what they actually were going to give us.
so that's another thing about this game. A lot of the hate. Okay, everything Star Wars right now is going to be controversial, just because big hate on Lucasfilm. That's pretty much all summer. One thing we've been talking about is, you know, Disney Star Wars bad. So
Yeah.
anything that comes out of Lucasfilm right now is gonna be overhated.
The Star Wars fan base is greatly divided.
Like, okay, one person that I actually watched him talk about and play some of Outlaws, and is a good example of this, is Star Wars Theory. I
Yeah.
don't know if I've talked about Star Wars Theory in the past. So he's kind of in this boat of it's just it's a game, It's
Yeah.
it's not bad, but it's not good. But
Yeah.
he's also one of these guys who, he's a Star Wars fan. He does not get in, or at least used to, didn't get into any of the politics of anything. But
Hmm.
he's just gotten so fed up with it in Star Wars that he's kind of been forced to.
Yeah. Now I will mention with something he was experiencing issues with, um, and he plays, I believe, on PC is what he was saying. And a lot of other gamers I know on YouTube do play on PC. I would assume it's easier to play games through PC on. Also, some people only consider you a true gamer if you play on PC, but whatever. Um, and he experienced some glitches. Obviously, he had early access to the game. Not early access, he bought early access to the game. Other YouTubers who were given early access by Ubisoft to review the game had some glitches with it all. Um, I did not, haven't. I'm very early on in the story. Um, I'm still on not the first world you start on. I'm on the second world that you crash land on. Which in a second, David, we do need to kind of get to the story of it just to briefly overview what's going on. I guess we should put a say spoiler warning before that. But anyways, I'm on the second world. Seemingly I'm not too far from getting off of it from what I know of the story. But anyways, so but I haven't experienced any glitches yet. I'm playing on Xbox. I don't know what patches they may have already had come out for it before they actually ended up releasing the game from their early access stuff. But for the most part, I do feel like what few problems, and I understand nobody wants to get a game, especially pay how much you have to pay for these games. But no one wants to do that and then get a glitchy game that doesn't work. I
Mm.
heard something that apparently on PS5, um, they were having problems with save files, and the save files were corrupted, so people would lose their progress and have to restart. Which you pay $70 or 100 and some odd bucks for whatever version you end up getting, and you can't save the game, and you have to, you lose all your progress in it. Like that's annoying. I mean, David, you and I have both played our fair share of games. You probably more so than I, but we both have been there before where we've had to do the same thing over and over and over again. And eventually you stop enjoying the game and you just get annoyed with it. And, it's just one of those things that happens. So it sucks to have, those problems in it. I haven't experienced any of those. Um, but personally, from what I've heard, it does sound like a lot of the people who are hating on this game are very nitpicky with it. Like, maybe like Star Wars Theory, I think is the one that I was thinking of mentioning the fact of the open world not being open. Now, obviously, he might have, been a little bit more jokey about that than anything else. But, it's like one of those things where I think people are kind of wanting to hate on Star Wars because one, for YouTube it gets clicks because there's a lot of Star Wars fans who want to hate. The Star Wars fan base is toxic, so they want to hate on Star Wars. And two, obviously there's a lot of hate surrounding the release of this game. So, it is what it is. It's not that big of a deal. People can hate it. People can love it. At the end of the day, it's your own personal preference. Um, but uh all in all, for me, I do want to dive into the story real quick, but for me, it's an okay game. It's nothing groundbreaking. It's just another game that has Star Wars slapped on it.
So one thing you mentioned too was the price.
Hmm.
I do want to touch on that real quick
Okay.
because like one thing floating around is this game's overpriced. Which the base game is $70, which that is pretty much industry standard at this point.
Yeah.
$70 for new games. Now the gold edition that comes with the season pass. I don't even know what all's included in that.
Nope.
It's also another thing. This game has a season pass.
Yeah, I've seen
Why?
that.
Why does a single player game need a season pass?
Yeah.
But so
Yeah.
the gold edition comes with the base game plus the season pass for $110.
Hmm.
No, hold on. Let me see if I can figure out what's inside the season pass.
So while you're
Here's
doing
the
that,
description.
uh, so to your to your point on the pricing, apparently, so there's a silver edition. You said gold. Is it the what's it plat? What's the next one up? There's three editions to it.
Next one's Ultimate Edition, which comes with the base game, season pass, the Rogue Infiltrator bundle, the Sabak Shark bundle, and a digital art book.
So I
A
heard that
digital art book
apparently
for $130.
the Ultimate Edition really only had one extra, like really one thing that was extra, and apparently it was one mission,
The Jabba mission, yeah,
the Java
one
mission, which
mission
there are,
for Jabba.
yeah, which I've heard that there are obviously other missions with Java, so it's not like they're withholding a well-known character in Star Wars to people who are going
So
to pay all this much. But it's kind of dumb. Like, I, you know, $20 more and you get one mission. I mean, sure, there might be a couple other things a part of it, but if you're not getting anything out of the actual game, kind of what's the point?
also, I think most of that stuff, the like bundles and stuff you get, are cosmetics.
Yeah,
That
they
seems
always
to be the
are.
way modern games. Yeah,
It's
Um,
never worth it if you want to buy a game brand new because you're a fan of the company, or what, GTA 6 finally comes out, like that's ever going to happen. But like you want to play that game, sure, go out and buy it. But in all honesty, 9 times out of 10, it's very rare that anything past the base game is worth your money.
so let's see if I can find what is.
Yeah, I heard people talking about the season pass, and they're like, "Why does a single player game have a season pass?" And I was just sitting there like, "I don't know.
So yeah,
I
it
don't
looks like it's all
care."
it looks like it's all cosmetics. But or no, wait, hold up. So the exclusive mission for Jabba is in the season pass.
Huh.
So you get that with the gold edition.
Okay, so maybe either I
Now,
misheard or they changed it.
so also one thing to note too, the season pass by itself is $39.99. The gold edition is $109.99. It's $40 more. So you're not even saving anything by buying the gold edition. You can just buy the base game and then buy the season pass. And actually, it's technically 1 cent cheaper if you do it that way.
Come here for all your financial advice
So,
on gaming.
what's the point of the gold edition if it's the same thing as buying the base game and the season pass separately?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, if they made it like,
And
$100, give you a $10 discount, that would make sense. But whatever.
yeah. Um Now, David, real quick, I'm assuming that you've, done your research on this. I took a little while longer. Took a little while longer to find the certain videos going over the whole entire game. So I'm a little bit more. Hmm. What am I saying? It's not. I'm not. I'm not real up to date on the all the inner workings of the actual story. So you can give a real brief summary of the game, but would you mind doing that real quick so that we can at least get that portion of the video out of the way?
So, yeah, let me, I'm sorry, what do you want me to do?
Uh, but you just like not listening, or to go in one ear and out the other. David, can you
I
give a
don't know.
brief summary of the actual game and the story in the game?
Yeah, so,
Because I'm stupid and I
just so
don't
I don't miss
remember.
anything, so I don't miss anything, uh, let's see. I got the Wikipedia article here,
Yeah, I don't
and
know why I didn't think to read that.
I'm going to read the plot section just so I don't
Okay.
miss anything, because I did watch some videos on it, and I zoned out for like half of them.
Yeah.
So, just because I don't know, the
Oh,
story is not.
okay. So before you read and actually dive into like the actual character of it all, I do know this much of it as a brief overarching game. So you play as this character, what's her name, Kay Vest or something like that, and she's supposed
Mm,
to be the scoundrel type character or whatever. Anyways, she gets caught up and has the death mark from this crime syndicate. What's it called? It's what's it called, David? David, what's it called? Insert now.
um,
Insert crime syndicate now. Okay. Anytime now.
I'm trying to figure out
Going once.
which syndicate you're talking about. There's
The
three of
one
them.
that has the death mark on her.
Oh,
Zarek Besh. What's it called?
uh,
It's not the Huts. It's not the Pikes. It's not Crimson Dawn is the last one. I think it's
Um,
Zarek Besh.
it's the one with the weird name. Hold up.
Okay. I think it's Zarek Besh. I'm not entirely sure, but that sounds slightly familiar. Anyway, she gets the death mark, and essentially the whole entire point of the game is that you're going through
Zarek
and you're
Besh.
trying.
Yeah.
Thank you. Insert about 4 minutes ago. All right. So, anyways, the whole point of the game is to try and get the death mark off you. That's essentially your character's goal in the game. Now, there's other stuff that happens and all, but you're just trying to get in with the other crime syndicates and network yourself around and get in good favor, do jobs, earn money, and then be free of the death mark. Read the summary, David, and we'll get a better look at what the story is actually about.
So, shortly after the destruction of the first Death Star, the leader of the upstart criminal syndicate, Zarek Besh, Sliro, that is a very weirdly phrased sentence, but Sliro, the leader of the crime syndicate, murders the leaders of his rival syndicates in a bid to consolidate his power. Meanwhile,
Well,
Kay Vess,
doesn't kill the leaders, so
that's
that's
what it
weirdly
says in
worded.
this.
Anyways,
Yeah,
continue.
it's Wikipedia. What do you expect?
He kills the representatives of each of them.
Yeah, okay.
Continue.
Um, Meanwhile, Kay Vess seeks to escape her homeworld of Canto Bight. I thought Canto Bight was the city, and then the world is Jimmy. Anyway, so to start
Wikipedia.
a new life in the core worlds. In her desperation, she takes up a job with a crew led by Dinian. Is that how you pronounce it?
No idea.
Dinian, who see, I'd expect better grammar on actual Wikipedia in one of the wikis, but this is pretty rough. Maybe it's because it's a
Honestly,
new article. But this is pretty rough.
yeah.
Uh, the crew led by Dinian, who plan to break into Sliro's vault and steal his fortune. Faye successfully opens the vault, only to be surprised when Dinian's crew reveal themselves to be part of the Rebel Alliance, and their real objectives was to free their team leader, Sarah, who was being held prisoner by Sliro. Kay demands payment from Vinian, but is shot by a stun blast and forced to escape on her own. Believing Kay is responsible for the break-in, Sliro puts a death mark on her head. Kay steals a ship called the Trailblazer and makes an emergency jump to the planet Kashara, but is forced to crash land due to the damage to her ship. On Kashara, Kay meets Waka. Yeah, I swear these Star Wars names.
I mean, they're
A
always bad.
mechanic, yeah, a mechanic who is willing to repair the Trailblazer. Kay has to do jobs for the local syndicates in order to earn the money, pay for the parts. As Kay gets the Trailblazer repaired and performs jobs for the local syndicates, she is soon forced to choose which syndicate to curry favor with, either assisting or betraying them at several opportunities. Eventually, she manages to salvage the replacement nav computer from the shipwreck, only to be double-crossed by Waka, but he is killed by the bounty hunter Vale, who is
Waka waka.
who is after Kay's death mark. Kay ends up being saved by outlaw Jalen Vrax and his droid enforcer ND5.
Literally the
Jalen
coolest
asks,
character in this whole entire idea of the game, and you can't even play as him.
that's the reprogrammed assassin droid, right?
Yep, yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Jalen asks Kay for participation in breaking. As for K's participation, I'll get it right up one of these days, in breaking into Sliro's vault again to steal his fortune, and instructs her to gather necessary crew members to pull off the heist. K and Indy 5 then proceed to travel around the galaxy to recruit crew members. She frees their safecracker bank and or from the clutches of Ashiga, of Ashiga clan on Kajimi. On Tatooine, she searches for their heavy boss, but they alone.
You having
Okay,
difficulties?
again, I would expect the grammar to be better on actual Wikipedia. But I'm just gonna read it exactly how it's phrased. I'll let you try to interpret it. But they, okay, actually, I don't think this is actually, I don't know. But they, along with Vale, run afoul of Jabba the Hutt. Boss is killed while Kay and Vale are forced to work together to escape, with both women earning each other's respect. On Akiva, Akiva? Yes. She searches for the droidsmith Gedik, who helps him hijack the Empire's Viper droid, project for the Rebel Alliance to secure his loyalty. However,
This is the summary.
yeah,
It's long.
yeah, I've got like 3 paragraphs left.
Oof.
Yeah. However, before they can recruit the Slicer, Indy 5 begins to malfunction due to his power core failing. Kay and Gedik enter an abundant separatist enter an abandoned separatist factory only to run into Asara's rebel cell. Indy 5 is repaired, and Asara decides to join the crew as their heavy. However, Jalen decides to recruit Rico, an expert slicer, and Kay's estranged mother, who abandoned her when she was a child.
Hmm.
Despite her reluctance to work with Rico, Kay continues with the plan by stealing Sliro's master code, discovering that Sliro is actually a director of the Imperial Security Bureau. What? And Zarek Besh is merely a front for the organization. She then leads the team into breaking into Sliro's vault. However, it's revealed to be a trap when Sliro corners Kay in the vault and orders Vale to kill her. Vale instead turns on Sliro, knocking him unconscious and holding off his guards in return for a cut of the loot. Kay and her team manage to escape the planet, but she finds out what they stole wasn't Sliro's money, but instead a codex containing all his information about the Empire. Jalen then betrays both Kay and Asara, revealing his aim was to usurp Sliro and take control of Zarek Besh himself. He then forces Indy 5 to stun Kay and on the trail locks her on the Trailblazer while taking Asara prisoner. With Rico's assistance, Ankh and Gadik rescue Kay, who finds out the Trailblazer is now on the Imperial Star Destroyer Revelator. Wanting to rescue Indy 5, Kay infiltrates a meeting between Sliro, Jalen, and Darth Vader. Ooh. Vader agrees to let Jalen take control of Zarek Besh, and Jalen reveals to Sliro that he is actually his older brother. before
Bro,
killing
hey,
him.
wait.
And
The boy didn't even know who his older brother was?
guess not.
I mean, he apparently very vividly remembered him being like, hey,
Mhm.
I never got, I always eating scraps from my brother. We can't remember who his brother is. Is he not allowed to see it? Look at his face.
I don't know.
It's crazy.
Reveals that he's actually his older brother before killing him in revenge for betraying and hunting down their family. Kay
Man, what a
manages to
family
remove
reunion.
Kay manages to remove Indy 5's restraining bolt and he kills Jalen to protect Kay. Kay, Indy 5, Asara then fight their way off the Revelator with the Codex with the assistance of Asara's rebels, and the Syndicate K has the best relations with. They destroy the Revelator and make their escape. Afterwards, Asara returns to the Rebel Alliance with critical data from the Codex. Ankh and Giddy decide to work together on casino heist. Val is paid off with the Codex, and K and Indy 5 leave for their next adventure in a post-credit scene. A disguised K helps Rico escape from an Imperial prison. Alright, so that's it. So, I think one of the biggest things with is this game was supposed to be, and for most of the game it is, but this game was supposed to be kind of a, like, you know, not so caught up in the whole, Empire Rebellion thing, kind of like, focusing more on the criminal underworld, which it does, but until like the third act where it gets like, you know, oh, you're actually helping the rebellion now defeat the Empire,
Yeah.
which I get they couldn't help themselves from doing it, but
I mean, it still is Star Wars, so, it's gonna happen.
yeah, but that's not really what the game. It's not really what I feel like the game was supposed to be.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I don't mind it as much because, like, it honestly, like, the story that I've seen and the bit of the story, obviously, that was a very choppy, poorly written article. Obviously, it's Wikipedia, but it, is what it is. But from what I've seen of the story, it actually flows pretty good. I mean, Kay is on this planet over here. She wants off of it. She actually ends up getting there's a crime syndicate on the actual planet she's on. She steals from them. They want her. So the guy that she's like her essential, like probably like her, whoever the father figure for her is, a character guy, is like, hey, do this job, you'll be able to get off the planet. She does the job. It turns out to be the one with the rebels. She has to escape there. She crash lands on this other planet, has to go through all these loopholes to get the death mark taken off of her. And then, through all of this, it leads her right back to the same, group that she was doing the first heist with. So it kind of makes sense. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad story. In all honesty, probably one of the better stories that Star Wars in general has put out in recent years, but that's not incredibly hard when Disney's making most of the stories and
Mm,
they've been crap for, years. So, the video game stories, while not, you know, this is not the most groundbreaking story, groundbreaking game or anything like that. It's not it's not a bad story. It follows pretty well in my opinion. Um I also did want to mention, for me personally, um, so before I started playing this game, uh, I had been playing through the Arkham series,
mhm.
and I felt like in a lot of, specifically Arkham Knight, which is the one that I'm on currently, there's a lot of repetitiveness to some of the missions that you have to do, and I kind of get it, but it's a little repetitive at times, and maybe it's because I played them all three of them pretty closely together, and I'm just kind of feeling the repetitiveness of all three games coming through. Um, but what I'm getting at is so far within this game, obviously there's going to be repetitiveness to a game, right? There's only so many styles of thing you can do. Like you said, if it's a shooter game, if it's an RPG, it's going to be a lot of gunfights. That eventually will get repetitive if you do it enough. If it's a stealth game, there's going to be a lot of stealth. That's going to get repetitive. If it's a puzzle game, that's what the game's going to be about. So there's going to be repetitiveness to the missions in which you play. But when I was playing through it, it kind of felt less like I had to go do things like, hey, this mission is in here because it's to, make the game longer. And it felt more like it there was a purpose for the missions that I was doing. I mostly just stuck to the story missions. There obviously were other missions you could do. I didn't see the point in doing that because my main goal was to get through as much of the game as possible. Um, and so I stuck to the story missions, and for the most part, the story missions were like, you know, it's seen obviously you can overanalyze it, you can nitpick with it, but for the most part, on a very surface level, it was like, okay, this makes sense. It doesn't seem like it's just here for another mission for me to do, essentially.
Mm.
Um, so I did kind of like that aspect of it. Obviously, I've only played a small portion of the game. Um, but that was a nice aspect of it. I personally plan on finishing the game. Uh, I might have too many games started right now, so I, I need to start knocking those out. Um, but I personally wouldn't mind finishing the game, but it's not one of those games that I'm going to play to uh have a challenge specifically, or to that I'm really really crazy about the story of. It's
So
more just I've already started it, and it's a kind of a for me playing it. I kind of am in a similar state to when I play like Minecraft. It's kind of one of those time killer. You have some time on your hands. You want to play a game. You don't want to think too much about it. Kind of a game for me.
yeah, so that's also another thing that I heard a lot of people saying about Outlaws is that the fact that if you want to, I guess, more enjoy the gameplay, and not
Hmm.
it just be kind of just easy, you really need to have it on one of the highest difficulties.
Yeah,
Now,
I have it on
that being
whatever the
said,
default is.
if you just want to play it for the story, that's that. But if you're looking for a game, which again, y- even though people are going to because it's Star Wars, you can't really compare like this to Fallen Order or Jedi
Yeah.
Survivor. But if you're looking for that level of like combat difficulty, you're not gonna find it in this game.
Hmm.
Even I would argue, like even like the combat difficulty in Battlefield 2, which is probably closer to this, it's gonna be still going to be very different.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. Now, David, correct me if I'm wrong. The reason this game ended up getting made was because EA no longer has exclusive rights to Star Wars games.
Correct.
So this is probably and I kind of hope, because I would like to see other um studios take on Star Wars games. This is probably the first of hopefully many other Star Wars games from different companies. There's a lot of good gaming companies out there that may may be interested in Star Wars. They also may have no interest whatsoever in making a Star Wars game. But you know, video games are video games, but each studio has their own style
Yeah.
to some extent, and it would be interesting to see some of those in those styles with Star Wars skins slapped over them.
Now, can I pitch a game idea to you?
Okay.
So all this kind of made me think about
Do I
something.
really have a choice?
No.
Okay.
Do you ever though?
No, that's why I was asking.
Yeah. Um, but I've obviously mentioned before it'd be really cool to see like a modern um Republic Commando with the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Um, now one thing Star Wars theory mentioned kind of offhand was it'd be really cool if we got a game where you play as a Sith. That got me thinking. Picture this: a true kind of like create your own character RPG where you play as a Bane era Sith apprentice. So okay, yeah, picture this. So obviously there would be a canon ending to the game because obviously, well, let me get to that in a second. But so basically the gameplay would essentially be stealth combat. So let's say your master wants you to assassinate someone on Coruscant. So you have,
Hmm.
that there'd be some missions that are like Hitman levels, but then there's some where you ambush someone out in the middle of nowhere in, you know, a backwater planet somewhere where you can actually, pull out your lightsaber and massacre people.
Yeah.
Now, the thing with this is you would have to be very, like you could not leave witnesses at all because
Hmm.
you have to keep the Sith a secret.
Yeah.
That'd be a kind of a core mechanic of the game. So basically, the game kind of leads to so there would at least be there could be, I don't know, more endings, but the three endings that I kind of thought of for the game would be either, so if you now one of the endings you could probably get really early on in the actual game, but basically where the Sith are revealed and it's just automatic game over.
Have it where, like, there's
And
legitimate consequences for.
you could even set this. I don't know if many people would like this, but you could even set it up as like a roguelike where if accidentally, let a witness escape, you have to restart the game. Like, it could be set,
Well,
different settings for that. Like, you could have the roguelike setting or a difficulty.
so what I'm
But
so what I'm kind of getting from what your pitch is here is essentially a Darth Bane era Knights of the Old Republic, essentially, but a little bit different in the fact that because it's
it's like Hitman,
after.
though.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm getting at is that where it's like a choose your own character and style, or like how you want your character to be, but because it's in the time frame between Bane and Plagueis, you can make your own character, and that character can be kind of canon. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like
So,
when
and
Revan,
because of that,
like with
and
Revan,
because of
Revan
that,
wore the mask, so like
mhm,
you could pick your own character and kind of be who you wanted to be, but there kind of was a specific character for it.
mhm,
Whereas this would
yeah,
be an obscure character, So yeah.
yeah. But because of that, you could almost have two different canon endings. So basically, if you like the good ending, if you play throughout the whole game, the good ending for your character would be you kill your master and become the master.
Ooh.
But then you could also have it where you know, it ends with you getting killed by your master or trying to overthrow him.
Now here's a
Now,
question
if you did
here:
it that
if
way,
you over,
you could
if
have
you go ahead.
so if you did it that way, both those endings could kind of be not necessarily canon, but just for the fact that, there's not really a direct line of Sith from Darth Bane to Darth Tenebris. And in fact, Darth Tenebris really isn't even canon, so I
Hmm.
think that's why you said Darth Plagueis. So because of that, you can really do whatever you want in this era.
Yeah, which I mean that's an era that I do think that they should dive into a little bit more. I don't want them to ruin it, but also they can be very loose with what they wanted to do. You can bring in a director and or director for a movie or director for a game. I mean, however you want to go about doing the, story for this. But you can do so much because it's not tied to anything. Nothing in this time period is really going to affect what happens later on, besides the fact that the Sith need to be, extinct, quote
Secret,
unquote,
yeah,
secret. So,
yeah. I mean, see, I also feel like that would be a much better way of doing like a Sith focused Star Wars project during
mhm,
this time period because obviously if you did a show or a movie basically with the same premise, it would be very boring.
yeah,
But the whole,
I-
like,
yeah, I get what you're saying.
but the cool thing with this is, like I said, like if you're in a crowded area, you have to figure out, and you're trying to, assassinate someone. You have to figure out how to assassinate them without using your lightsaber. Because obviously, if you're in a crowded area and you pull out a lightsaber, oh, who's this
Yeah.
guy? You
What
know?
what are the Jedi doing? Um,
Yeah,
he's not one of us. So, yeah, that's one thing that I will say the biggest reason why I never got far playing the Hitman game uh, is because I'm not very good at the subtleness. And
mm,
I always like to go in there guns blazing, and well, your character's not built for guns blazing, so you die real quickly. Um, but I tried. There were a couple missions where I would find a really good spot, um, that I could fend off pretty well. I'd eventually get overrun, but I'd go and I'd kill like one or two guards, and then I'd grab their guns and I'd just start raining down on everyone. And yeah, then eventually I just get mauled, and I'd be like, "Well, I'm not playing this game. Let me go play something that's built for this." So, but if it's Star
yeah.
Wars, I'll actually play it.
Like so, the cool thing about that is you could have different, like basically, most of the missions would have to be some, semi stealth oriented, but you could have different, um, like types of missions that have different ways of accomplishing them. Because, like I said, if you're you know on a on a outer rim planet where there's no or not many people around, you can pull out your
Hmm.
lightsaber and eliminate
I
all
was
the
gonna say
witnesses pretty easily.
you I would say you could have missions where like your masters may be like, "Hey, go over here and wipe out this whole entire such and such, this facility, this, that, the other thing, whatever. Like, don't leave any trace of you, but, get rid of them." And you can kind of go in there and do more or less what you want with killing them, or you could
And the
have the
cool
stealth missions.
The cool thing about that too, let's say if you do have a mission where you have to go like wipe out a like let's say like a mining facility. So the
Hmm.
mission would start out semi-stealth because you have to go in, disable all the ships, disable all the communications in the facility. Then you can go in, lightsaber blazing and just wreck everyone because they have no way of, either escaping or communicating what's going on to the outside world.
Exactly. David, this is such a great idea. It's never going to see, ever, ever, ever going to see the light of day because nobody likes good ideas anymore.
I would say let's make it, but I don't think you or I know how to make a game like that, and I don't think you or I could afford the Star Wars licensing.
No, no. I don't even think we collectively. We're not. We're maybe a couple million short. So, however much that thing costs, couple 100,000 at least. But Yeah, David. So maybe not final thoughts, but what are your final thoughts on Star Wars Outlaws to get back to the main topic at hand for this video?
It's not the worst game ever. It's by no means the worst thing Disney Star Wars has put out in recent years,
Hmm.
but it's kind of just a middle of the road. It's just mediocre.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing about it is it's a average game. Um, it's gonna get quickly forgotten. It's it's got nothing special in it. Um, some of the mechanics are a little bit, maybe a little weird. It doesn't do anything great. It doesn't do anything really of consequence horribly wrong either. It's just a Star Wars game, essentially. It's probably going to be one of those that years down the road, people will talk about, different Star Wars games, and then they'll mention Star Wars Outlaws, and people will be like, "Oh yeah, forgot about that one." You know,
Mm,
it's not going to be anything special moving forward. Um, you know, the character of Kay, nothing groundbreaking. She's just a placeholder for any other smuggler. They could have
honestly,
they probably could have made a more interesting character, but you know, that would have required time and effort, which they had a lot of
mm,
time, but maybe didn't want to put in the effort. So,
mm, honestly, they could have. Or honestly, this game is gonna be, I feel like, remembered similar to like the Jedi Academy games. Like, those were actually good games at the time, and it.
mhm.
I need to actually finish the. I've only started the first one. I need to actually go and finish those games. But um, they were good games at the time, but not many people talk about them now because like they're somewhat overshadowed by like Knights of the Old Republic or like the next in the next wave of Star Wars games, the Battlefront or Force Unleashed. It kind of got overshadowed.
Say this game will definitely be overshadowed in this time frame by Fallen Order, Survivor, and
'Cause, okay,
probably whatever the next game is to come out from Star
I would
Wars.
say I don't know if this is kind of how I don't know if they're saying this is kind of the first of the next generation of Star Wars games, but I would still kind of include this and all the EA Star Wars games in the same generation,
Yeah,
even though I
yeah.
know first Battlefront is like 8 years old at this point. But
Yeah, but in all honesty, besides the fact that in the first Battlefront it was strictly supposed to be a online game, and so that if you don't play it online, it sucks. And
mm,
when I got it, I didn't have Game Pass, so it sucked. But besides that fact there, like from Battlefront to Battlefront 2, as far as most of the mechanics go, it's pretty much the same. And then when you look at the game from Fallen Order to Survivor, I mean the game again is mostly the same. You don't in looks and feel, it's obviously the games kind of are similar. So I do think that I can see why, but let's wait until we get a good game to say we're skipping to the
mm.
next generation. You know, let's start off with a bang, not a
Honestly, I don't know. Which one thing that I don't think it's going to be quite as bad as like Star Wars Squadrons because I heard when watching stuff about this game, I heard someone mention Squadrons. And they're like, I completely forgot that was even a thing.
Yeah, I have no idea what's up with that. I haven't watched anything on that, and like you said, I completely
See,
forgot about
and
it.
I've heard people say that it's a pretty good game, but I feel like the only people who actually remember it are the people who like it.
Yeah,
And so that might be kind of the thing that happens with Outlaws. I don't know. But
yeah. like I said, for me
I don't think
personally,
it's going to go down as one of the greats.
no, no. Well, here's the thing. Here's the problem with it going down as one of the greats. It's not revolutionary, and you're not a Jedi. It's
Right.
not a thing that you can't have a game where you don't play as a Jedi, and it's not going to go down as a great. But I feel like you can't bring in a completely new character of seemingly little importance in the Star Wars universe and just make the next great hit. Like, if you made her, obviously I would not have liked this as far as the story goes because it's an overused thing in Star Wars and they need to stop this. But if like she turned out to be a Jedi, and when I was going to say when I was thinking of saying that, what I meant was if she was a Jedi, not if she turned out to be a Jedi. But if they did that too, and you play with a lightsaber, maybe made the ending of it a little bit more fun. But we already have Survivor and Fallen Order. We already have Cal Kestis. We don't need more. I mean, Vader was supposed to be good at his job. He wiped out all the Jedi essentially. Like there obviously were a few across the galaxy, but you can't just keep popping up Jedi and being like, "Oh, they survived. Oh, they survived." And it's like, "Wait a minute. Did Order 66 not really work?" Like, all these younglings were able to escape. Those should have been the first targets because they were the easiest, you know.
So honestly, if you want game developers, if you're listening to this, if you want a Star Wars game, do well and not have a Jedi as the main character, set it during the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
That's honestly one of the best. Like honestly, like people go crazy for Clone Wars stuff. When Battlefront
I d-
2 came out, when Battlefront 2 came out, the EA Battlefront 2, because everyone hated, or not hated, but one of the big things people hated about Battlefront, the EA Battlefront, is it was just Galactic Civil.
yes.
When they announced all three eras were going to be in Battlefield 2, no one cared about sequel era, but everyone lost their minds for Clone Wars. Getting to play as clones, yes, please.
I, s- I mean, I still hop on there sometimes, and literally what I go to immediately is Clone Wars era. I want to play as the clones. I want to play as the droids. Specifically the clones, but sometimes the droids are pretty cool too. Uh, but to that point, what you were saying, you could also okay. So playing through this, um, obviously it's open world. You have access to your ship. You can fly off. I got on the Trailblazer and was walking around to explore just to see what the ship had to offer. And I was walking around it and I was like, man, I'm playing as rip-off Han Solo in a rip-off Millennium Falcon. And I'm like, can you just not give me the real thing? I mean, let's be honest here. There is take a good story from the EU, right? From with Han Solo. I mean, currently David, we're gonna talk about it in about 2 or 3 weeks. I'm not entirely sure. I think 2 weeks. We're gonna talk about Heir to the Empire. Han Solo's in that. I'm listening to the book right now. Not currently, but anyways. And I'm seeing a side of Han Solo that I've never seen before because I've not read the book before. It's like there's so much out there. Just take one of those stories, put it and make it into a game, and you get to play as Han Solo. You have Chewbacca by your side. You get to play with, maybe the Rebel Alliance, maybe with a new Galactic Empire, still fighting the Empire, whatever. You can make it a seemingly somewhat big story. You get to fly the Millennium Falcon. Like, come on. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Kves. She's a likable character. I liked her character. She Like I said, it's not like she was anything groundbreaking, but I don't hate her character. She's just a character, but she's fine. Like no one's gonna be Han Solo, you know? Like let me fly the Millennium Falcon. Let me explore the Millennium Falcon. Let me shoot someone as Han Solo. Let Han shoot first. You know, like, oh, apparently, in Star Wars Outlaws, if you go to the cantina, um, on Tatooine, apparently one of the booths has a blaster mark, uh, where it would have been for Han getting shot at. So, guess a tiny little cool little Easter egg.
So to your point, um, headphone warning for anyone listening. We could have gotten a fucking Boba Fett game. You know about 1313?
I do know about
We
1313.
There
I
was a
forgot about
Boba
that,
Fett game
but
in
yes.
development and it got canned. What?
Hey, even to that point, all right, why do you think people liked The Mandalorian when that show came out? It's because Mandalorians are so cool. So even if you didn't specifically give us Boba Fett, if you gave us Mandalorian, that's still going to be very cool. But Boba Fett would have been better. Um, I forgot about that, David. I forgot about that game being in development. That that would be an amazing, if done right, would have been an amazing game.
And honestly, you could have even had the whole thing of like, well, honestly, it probably would have been something more like, you doing jobs for Jabba and also doing jobs for the Empire.
Hmm. Yeah. Um,
But that would have been.
what could have been?
Hmm.
What could have been? David, I do want to mention this one thing before we do end up wrapping up here in a little bit. Um, one thing about the game that I actually found really cool, and when I was playing it and I started doing this mission, I kind of was like, you know, I got real excited for this when I found out what I was actually doing. Um, and it's something very minor, and it probably is just going to be a me thing here. But I got to play Sabak, so I understand
Hmm.
how to play Sabak now, and I did like that. Playing Sabak was fun. Now, um, obviously there was a little cheat. You could use your little meerkat, whatever creature, to go and cheat for you. Um, I did do it a couple times because I was like, why not? It's there for a reason. But um, like actually playing Sabak, I was like, this is kind of cool. Like I might, whether I play through the game or not, I might go to one of the worlds and go to one of the card tables and just randomly play Sabak because that's kind of cool. Like Sabak's kind of fun. So, you know,
Like I
I
said,
did like
that's
that
one of the things.
mechanic.
Like I said, that's one of the things that reminded me of Red Dead is Red Dead you can go play poker,
Yeah.
and
So,
Sabaki is pretty much poker.
essentially, yeah, it is. So that aspect of it, I did kind of like, and I was kind of like, you know, I don't know if there's any like mobile games out there, but I might be getting into Sabak now, but you know, I'll go to a
I
galaxy far,
looked
far
at it a
away.
while. Looked at it a while back. Apparently, you can buy a Sabak decks on Amazon.
Yeah, I've seen those before. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, I had looked up before because I was curious about how to play Sabak. Um, but playing the game, obviously I had to, they had the instructions and they laid it out simple enough for me to be able to, for me of all people, to be able to understand how to play Sabak, and ended up doing pretty good with it. So obviously, I think you have to win for that mission to be successful. So it probably is a little easier. I might need to go to just one of the random tables and see how I do. But I mean, it's like poker. It's kind of just luck of the draw, but there is some skill involved with it. Um, but I did like that little mechanic behind it. It was fun. Um, I also feel like some of the like the when you're using the and you're trying to pick locks or whatever, I did like that mechanic. The rhythm based thing. Thought that was different than a lot of other lock picking that you have in most games. Um, so I did like the I did like that and the way that they ended up doing that. The hacking, I liked the way they did the hacking. I feel like with most hacking, it's a little unorthodox. Like there might be a system behind it. For the most part, it's kind of just guess, and you kind of figure it out. Um, but I did like that a lot more than I liked the Fallout 4 hacking. That thing was annoying.
Doing the hacking in Fallout 4, I had to have a notebook because I would literally write down stuff and actually, write down stuff in a column, and then, as it tells you what's right, you can score stuff off.
Hmm. So you actually got a crypt sheet?
Pretty much, yeah.
I just got lucky. I kind of went over it and guessed some stuff, and kind of more or less figured out somewhat of a pattern behind it. But I was just like, I just kind of got through it. Although, what was it? I was looking at something. You know how when you're on Xbox, you can compare like what your stats in a game to friends. For one day, for some reason, I was comparing what I had played through on Fallout 4 and what you had played on Fallout 4, and I had played like maybe a total of like day and a half, and you had played a total of like a week or more. And I was like, yeah, David's played a good bit of Fallout 4.
Yeah, yeah. Just don't look at my Minecraft. Um,
I'm pretty sure I have, but I won't because I know that's going to be a
well,
good couple years long probably.
Minecraft splits it up between the platforms, but if you look at Minecraft for Windows, I think I'm close to closing in on 60 days,
Wow. I've
and
been getting
that's
into it a
not everything.
I've been playing it a good bit on the Switch version recently. The only version I don't think I have, and I say I don't think I have because I bought things before and well, my power just went out. I don't really know what that's about. That's weird. Hopefully this goes fine. I guess we should get off soon if my power's out. Um, but anyways, I've been playing it a lot on the Switch. I don't think I have it on PC, but I might have it somewhere. I'm not sure. But I don't really plan on playing PC because I got the Xbox version that I can play on the TV, and if I want to take it mobile, I'll just take it on the Switch, which works well enough.
Mhm.
I'm really confused what happened. I got a little light on my camera, so I don't have my big light anymore. So
Yeah. Um, I'm assuming you're on your hotspot or something, because
I am not. So I don't know what's up with that. The Wi-Fi hasn't cut off, but
weird. Okay. Um,
it really is weird. I mean, I don't think it just cut off in my room. There wouldn't be a reason for the internet, or not the internet, for the um
unless you tripped a breaker for that room.
yeah. I don't know why they would have tripped a breaker. I don't know what they would have been doing. I don't know. Currently, I still have a connection. I guess we should probably go ahead and wrap this up just so I don't have to mess with it if I do lose it. But personally, for me, final thoughts on the game. I wouldn't go out and buy it. I understand that games industry standard is for it to be, $70, but I don't really think most games are worth it. But I don't think this is a bad game. Maybe play it in a couple months or a year if you're interested in it.
Wait
Wait
for it to go on sale.
wait for it to go on sale. Wait for them to get the bugs fixed. Obviously, I didn't personally experience any bugs, but I know that there are still some in this game. But it's a fun enough game. It's not a hard game. It's just you know, it's a game. And if you like Star Wars, you know, and if you like Star Wars, you like gaming, and you want to take the time, go play it. But I'm not going to go over here and say it's going to be the game of the year. It's not even going to be in the top 20, 30, 40. I don't know how many games come out in the year. It's not going to be anywhere close to the, game of the year, but it's a Star Wars game and it's fun enough. you can get some enjoyment out of it.
Mhm. Yep, for sure.
All
Oh,
right.
want to go ahead and bring us on out then?
Yeah, sure. So, what are you doing?
Coming to see if your power was off.
Yes, my power's off too, like the rest of the house. I'll be out in a second.
Okay.
All right, pardon the interruption. So, to get us out of here, thank you for listening to this episode. Be sure to join us next week. I don't remember what we're talking about, but we're talking about something Star Wars related. And we hope you enjoy this episode. Did I already say that? I don't know. It's hot in here. I'm starting to lose my brain cell, David. Thank you for
Half
sticking
a
around to the
Renaissance.
very end. Yeah, well, anyways. Thank you for sticking around to the very end of this episode. If you did, please leave a comment down below telling us what you thought of the episode, what we can do better, or what you liked about it. And as always, be sure to join us next week on X-Wing Radio.